All right. Hey, what's going on, my friends? This is Turgon, the wise guy, that wise guy from Loki. Coming back at you with a fresh video today. I apologize. My video yesterday, I think was off to a good start, but I honestly got distracted by a couple of things and had to kind of cut it short. So this video is kind of just a follow-up to that one. And if you didn't watch the previous video, I encourage you to do so. um, so you can get caught up because I'm going to basically just kind of pick up where I left off. Super high level recap. I was discussing some of the issues that I have with the way that this season was set up and how it has unfolded. Some of these issues are issues that could potentially be managed at the developer level. When the devs set up the season, I think they could do a better job with the matchmaking process. And I have some feedback that I'll leave regarding some ideas that I have that I think would help um, create more balanced, fun servers for people like me and people like us with Loki who seek to have that fun, balanced, let's fight, not just do whatever it takes to win kind of a season. For the people who just want rings and to win every season, and they, completely wipe a server in 3, 4 weeks, and then you sit around angry because you're bored until the season's end, then these ideas are not for you. um, and then there's also the people element of it, and I think the people element of it is enabled through the developer aspect of it. So the developers have a matchmaking system that gets, I don't want to say abused, but when you enter a server or which server you're about to enter prior to a season, you can reach out to your friends and say, "Hey, I'm going to this server. What server are you on?" They're like, "Yeah, I'm on this server too." And you can start making plans. And then those plans can turn into other plans. And this is where the scheming aspect of it that I was talking about last video comes into play. So, how do we get around this? How can we mitigate scheming? Can we eliminate it? I don't think it can be eliminated. But can we mitigate it? I think it could be mitigated to a certain extent. And here's my suggestions for the developers, should they ever come across this video. When the matchmaking process begins, I like the way that it is initiated, where there is a sign up period. A campaign is opened, role play, non role play. You can pick Rebuilding Glory. You can pick Tactics Evolved. You can pick War of the Ring. You can pick Kings of Men. You can pick all those options depending on, which campaign is open at the time. You sign up for a campaign, and there's a bunch of people that also sign up for that campaign. Some of those people are visible. They make their team visible, and some of them are invisible. That's an interesting aspect. I don't have any problem with that either. The next part is the part that I think can be refined. When the sign up period closes, there's then a period of 24, 48 hours where the developers evaluate how many people signed up for that campaign and which factions were populated. Because when you sign up for which faction you want to play for. You create a team, you say which faction you want to play, and that team gets loaded in as anticipated for playing that particular faction. Although it's interesting, once you load into the campaign, you could pick a different faction if you wanted to. It doesn't lock you in, and you still have to go through the process of creating your fellowship and inviting everyone to it. It's like that race at the beginning of every season, and that's fine too. But here's where the breakdown I think occurs. When everyone signs up for that campaign, in the last 2 seasons, It seems as though the maximum capacity for a faction is about 200 players, and it's just too light. It's just too light. The servers that myself and my friends have had the most fun on are the servers where the minimum the minimum per faction was 300. Some factions even came close to 400 players. That was fun. The other piece is a lot of these servers, they split us down. It's not even 200 players per faction. And then we get split into two servers. Why? Put everyone on one server. Let everyone go nuts. Maybe it's because the numbers aren't balanced. Well, 800 people signed up for Arnor. 500 people signed up for Variag. 400 people signed up for Lothlorien. They're trying to create balance by cutting everyone down. That makes sense. It does. It does make sense to a degree. But I don't know if there's some sort of an algorithm that they're using to make these determinations or if there's someone actually reviewing the data. If it's the former, the algorithm is broken. If it's the latter, the person who's making those decisions isn't making the best decisions, and I think it's because they're not looking across the totality of the data. And here's what I would like to see them instill into their matchmaking to try to mitigate the scheming aspect of the game. Teams that are signed up for a campaign, if you've played on a server with more than one team, you should be pushed to another server. Teams shouldn't be allowed to play multiple campaigns together, period. So in this instance, Loki, Arnor on the map you see here, has played multiple seasons with or against Lothlorien and Gondor, specifically the teams Yadu and Ares. We should never be allowed to be on the same server again. Period. It should just not be allowed. How do you put rules and guardrails on that? Well, split it up into different servers. People sign up for a season. When the time comes to divvy up everyone into the respective servers, look across the data to see who's played together, what teams have played together. And the data is all there. So it's not like they don't know or they couldn't know. They can know and they can make a determination. How about this? Let's be reasonable here. Since there's, three teams involved in this particular circumstance, instead of having all three of us on one server, just have two. No more than two. Oh, okay. Yadu and Ares have played together. Loki and Ares have played together. Loki, Ares, and Yadu have played together. We'll put two of them on this server and one of them on this server instead of all three of them together. And they could look across the entire spectrum of every season, of every team, of every player who's played the game. They have the data. They can make these determinations. And it wouldn't be hard and it wouldn't be time consuming to do if you've got the right data analyst making those evaluations and recommendations. Now, I'm not suggesting I could do it, but I could. But that's neither here nor there. The other piece of feedback I have is that on this server, and I mentioned this in my previous video, we have two factions in Gondor and Erebor. I'm sorry, not Gondor, Rohan and Erebor, where the players in those factions, the majority of the players in those factions, are in their third season. This is their third season. This is our seventh season. I'm playing my seventh season. Loki's playing their seventh season. Yadu is playing their seventh season. Gondor is playing their seventh season. Linden is playing their seventh season. Many of the players in Variag and Gundabad and Rune are also playing their seventh season. Why do we have third season players on the server? It shouldn't happen. It's a terrible experience for everyone. It's a terrible experience for them because they're just lambs for the slaughter. It's a terrible experience for the experienced players because we got stuck with alliances with basically teams that are lambs to the slaughter. Like we went from on paper at the beginning of the season when the alliances were forged across the server, it looked like a 5v4 with Arnor, Linden, Rohan, Erebor, and Rune versus Lothlorien, Gondor, Variag, and Gundabad. But in reality, what happened, and this should have been quite honestly, this should have been anticipated. Rohan took a beatdown as soon as they tried to do anything against one of these seventh season factions. I mean, they're wedged in between Lothlorien and Gondor. What did you expect was going to happen? What did you think that they were going to be able to do? Sure, they have some strong players and strong whales on those teams, but they folded. They got smashed between two giant, strong teams, and they folded and they made a deal to keep their capital so they could get some decent season end rewards. And that's why you see them up north now fighting Rune. Are they fighting Rune? Oh yeah, they fighting Rune. So they went from being allies to being enemies. So now that script that looked balanced at the beginning of the season is totally unbalanced because it's 5v4 in favor of the teams that are already winning. So what really happened in the server was it became Arnor, Linden, and Rune versus the world. Like I said in my previous video, Erebor has been completely worthless. They have done absolutely nothing productive against anyone. Several times they have lost Lake Town to Gundabad, and it took them like a week to get it back. And it's not even being protected. Like, no offense to the Erebor players. My heart goes out to you for being third season players and having been thrown into this giant mess. But like from a, a balanced server perspective, it's just not fair. It was not fair this way. And some of it was because of the scheming and the planning and the plotting of our opponents. And you got to give them kudos. I'll give them kudos. They outmaneuvered us. Kudos to you guys for doing that. But it's just indicative of the overlying issues with the game. This should not be possible. And I also want to criticize the United Faction system because it enables this as well. I don't like the United Faction system. At first, I thought the United Faction system was cool, but frankly, every season I've played with it has just not been as much fun as the seasons that I played without it. Seasons 1 and 2. You can still forge agreements without the United Faction system, and teams did. But now with the United Faction system, the agreements that are being made completely unbalance the server in most situations. I don't know what other people across the platform are experiencing, but this has been my experience across 7 seasons. Seasons 1 and 2 were much more fun without the alliance, the faction alliance system, United Faction system. Season 3 was a bloody mess. Season 4, I played War of the Ring, and I liked that campaign because it was a strict light versus dark scenario. There was less politics in play, and I liked that. But here's the thing, no one playing that anymore, particularly good side players. And the game, in terms of population, is so unbalanced between the number of people playing good side teams and playing evil teams that the devs have had to compensate for that by making evil really strong because they anticipate that evil is going to be outnumbered like 4-1 every server. So they got to make it so that evil can hold their own. And I understand that, and I'm not criticizing that because it's one of those things where it's like, you try to tip the scale one way to create balance, and then people abuse things and it tips the other way. And then there has to be constant adjustments made to try to create parity. And every server is unique. So in situations where evil aren't outnumbered 4-1, maybe 3-1, if it's like 2-1, they got a good chance of being really impactful and challenging and maybe even winning, depending on how well coordinated they are and how strong they are and how active, of course. So that's my proposal. I would like, and I know that there's going to be a new campaign coming out probably by the time I'm ready to sign up for the next campaign. And I'm curious as to what that will be like. I don't know if I'll be playing it or not, but I'm curious to see what it is and what it'll be like. But I would love to see, some sort of a game type where there is no united factions and there's a system put in place to create a more balanced server for players and teams that have ideals similar to what Loki has, where we want a good fight, we want to fight, we want a fair fight, we want to win a fair fight, and we want to lose through a fair fight. It's not a fair fight when it's constantly 1 versus 3. It's not a fair fight when it's 6 versus 2. It's not a fair fight when it's 7 versus 3. It's not a fair fight when the numbers are uneven, no matter what you do. Because there should be the ability to outmaneuver your opponents militarily should create an avenue for you to overcome the obstacle of diplomacy. And it's not there right now. Diplomacy is 100% of the game, and it makes it not fun. It really does. Because, like, we kick the crap out of Gundabad. And right now, we would probably be attacking their capital had Lothlorien not flanked us. But Lothlorien came to Gundabad's aid, and here we are, sitting in the corner of the map, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for them to have their ring fight, which probably won't happen for 3 to 6 days, minimally. Similarly, we went to try and help our united faction ally Lyndon versus Gondor, and the moment we went to do that, of course, Lothlorien came as well. And you're like, well, okay, well, that's 2v2. Well, not really, because Lyndon already was on the ropes. At least based upon what I can see. I can't speak for Lyndon. I don't know what's going on specifically with their team, with their activity, with their barracks, but it seemed to us that Lyndon was spent. So we went to help them. That's different. It's different when you're flanking to help a team that is about to get demolished than it is to, gang up and attack an already weakened opponent, which is what happened. Loth and Gondor were already in overwhelming numbers going to push through Lyndon. And I suppose you could make the counter argument, well, that's what Arnor was going to do to Gundabad. Not really. I mean, Gundabad has 2 full active warbands, while Arnor, I mean, we have 2 pretty full fellowships, but how active and how strong is our second group? They're pretty active and they're pretty strong. I'd say they're a better second fellowship than what we had in Gondor last season, in my 6th season, but it's they're a far cry from our team in terms of strength and activity and coordination. And I'm not saying they're bad teammates. I'm just trying to paint a picture of what reality is, which is that Gundabad's 2 full warbands are more active than ours. And we still would have beaten them 1v1. That's really the issue that I have, is that 1v1 we could probably beat just about any faction on the server, any team on the server. But it's never a fair fight, no matter where we go, no matter what we do. And again, kudos to our opponents for adapting to that and putting us in Pandora's box in the corner of the map so they can go and fill their barracks and prepare their ring fight, which my friends and I agree is it's a game killer. Making an entire server wait around for a week or more so you can set up your dream ring battle and then it's all over in like less than a day. It's crap. Dol Guldur is open. Go and fight. Go and take it. This isn't 1800 where the Prussians are marching up to the battlefield versus the British, and they stand there and stare at each other, and they're loading their muskets, and then they all take aim, and everyone fires all at the same time, and whoever is left standing is the winner. It's not the year 1800 anymore. We don't fight wars this way. but that's what we're doing in the game with these rank battles. It's bullshit. No, no one likes it. No one likes it. I mean, it's cool to see that big red flag with like 25 million dead. That is probably, something that's pretty cool. But like to make 700 people wait for you to do that, it's that's not how the game was intended to be played. So that's my feedback. Those are my thoughts. Those are my ideas. Those are my complaints. Those are my recommendations. Let's build a more balanced, a more fun game for more people, and not make it so that you can just scheme your way into winning every season. You should earn it through fighting, not through scheming. Is diplomacy an implicit part of the game? Sure, it is. It always has been, and it always will be. But there's got to be ways to make it so that it's more fair for everyone. No mixing season 7 and season 3 players. That shouldn't happen. If you're a third season player, you should be on a server with other third season players. And if there isn't one available, then don't let them join the server. Give them a message that says, through the matchmaking process, we've identified that the other teams on your server would be overwhelmingly stronger based upon the number of seasons they've played compared to yours. For these reasons, we will be returning you to Bag End so that you can sign up for a different campaign in hopes that you can play a more fair season with players of like experience. The other potential way that they could fix this would be to make it so that you sign up for the server you're going to play on. And if you see that the other players on that server are season 7 players and you're in your third season, you just don't sign up for that server. Like, make it so that what you're signing up for is what you're signing up for. And then once that campaign is signed up for, don't divvy it up into servers. That could just be another way that teams can control their fate before getting locked into a 6, 7, 8, 10 week long plus maybe even season. Because it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. Often there's dollars being spent. Make it a good experience for everyone across the platform. All right, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. If you have any comments or feedback or questions, leave them in the comments below. Feel free to reach out to me in game or on Discord. Hope you have a great day. Take care.